You are watching Pausing with Erik. We pause for a second or two. How do we keep life coherent when so much is changing? This is episode 297, Pausing for Salience. Today we are going back to basics. This is our first and most important wood cube. Pause. Pause is our core skill. It is the skill upon which everything else is built. This is a symbol for pause, a simple, well-known pause sign. Whenever we get a hunch that there might be something interesting or puzzling going on, we pause for a second or two. Pausing is how we make breathing space and choice. So today we are sort of going back to the first thing that we do to sort of make sense of where we are. So today's episode is called Pausing for Salience. And I stumbled upon the word salience. My native language is not English, it's Swedish. So when I found the word salience, I really liked it. And I understand it as something like information or something that is important, or the most sort of what is sort of useful to elevate as above everything else. Something to sort of lift out and focus on. And right now, we live in times when there is so much information going around. And there are many fears about what will happen. There are sort of physical fears. There are social fears. So much sort of scary stuff just, going around. So it's difficult to just pause and decide what is really salient here. What is actually useful for us as people to focus on. What actually is interesting to look at. So we pause because we want to make breathing space. We want to feel this sort of breathing space necessary so that we can make a personal choice out of that breathing space. And when we pause, we use a sort of situational approach. The sort of logic behind pausing is that always in life we find ourselves in the center of our own life. From our point of view, we are the center point. I have something in front of me, something behind me, something to the right and something to the left. Something above and something below. So for each person, they are sort of the center point in their universe. And that means that all of us are always in a given situation. There's always a situation sort of surrounding us and being inside of us. So when we pause, the first thing we do to determine what is salient is to determine what kind of situation we currently find ourselves in. So when we pause, we find ourselves in the middle as we are pausing. And then we can determine what kind of sort of typical situation do we find ourselves in. And when we talk about pausing, we talk about 5 different typical situations. And if you look around here on this channel, you can see that most of the episodes here are organized under these 5 headings, these 5 situations. And they are sleep, acute, long term, confused, and worn out. These 5. So what is salient to one person, let's say what's salient for me in one situation, is not necessarily what is salient for you in the same situation, because you and I might find ourselves in different typical situations. So let's say that you and I pause right now. There. Then it could be that I find myself in one of these 5 situations. I identify that, let's say today I feel very tired. You can see that I am tired today. So today I am worn out. That's the situation when we feel too tired, when we feel cut off or lonely. So okay, let's say that I feel worn out today. What is salient for me, what is the most important thing for me when I am in a state of being worn out is not necessarily what is important for you in this situation. Because you might find yourself in some of the other 4 situations. So worn out is, like I said, when we feel tired and isolated and lonely. Then we have sleep. That's for when we fall asleep, when we sleep and dream, and when we wake up. Our acute situation is when we feel, it's when something sudden happens, when we are sort of caught off guard, or when we are startled or suddenly approached. That's our acute situation, when we feel this sudden loss of control. That's acute. And then we have long term. I guess I feel a bit long term today also, or right now. That's when we think about or feel urgency or worry about our long term plans, our future. And then we have confused. That's when we feel scrambled or disoriented, or like we are missing something. That it feels like the only thing we know is that there is something we do not know. It has this sort of uncomfortable but yet humbling feeling to it. So these times that we live in right now, when all this sort of very stark information is sort of flying around or being sort of pushed on us, it's easy to feel any of these 5 situations, or to find ourselves struggling with any of these 5 situations. And we come a long way if we can identify sort of what we have to work with here. What do I have to work with in this given situation? So I feel worn out and worried about my future today. What is salient then? Perhaps to take a step back. Perhaps to lower my expectations. Perhaps to not be too sure of myself. And also, a cool thing that happens when we pause and sort of identify correctly what kind of situation we are in is that when we do that, we feel seen, we feel affirmed by ourselves. And once we feel sort of affirmed or clear in our own eyes, then we can sort of lift our eyes and see other things as well. Also, something that I feel is salient to me in this situation right now is that the sun has been shining like every day for a month, and today is the first sort of rain day for a month. And once that sort of rain came, I just felt, wow, I'm really tired. So like this, pausing and determining what is sort of the most important thing right here and now. Sometimes it feels very full of life and very confident. And at other times, like for me right now, it feels, kind of hesitant, kind of low confidence. I don't know. Worn out. Thinking about my future. And I think it's difficult to be one thing if we cannot also be the other thing sometimes. So, like the weather here where I am right now, the sun has been shining every day. Sort of a good symbol for confidence, sunshine and light every day. And then once this day came and there's rain and this sort of gloomy feeling in the air, then all that pent up sort of alternative to confidence is sort of, here it is, sort of. So to pause is it's not always interesting. Sometimes it feels puzzling instead. Sometimes it feels sort of positive and interesting, but like today it feels more like a discomfort or like an anxiety. Like, wow, is this really gonna be okay? We can feel for a moment. So, for a day like this, when I don't really feel responsive to constructive information, and then perhaps it's a bad idea to take big leaps. So then perhaps it's just better to sit tight and just, have some patience with oneself and just wait it out. Pausing is how we make breathing space and choice. So if we do not feel the breathing space in order to make a personal choice, then perhaps we need to rest, perhaps we need to pause and just wait for a while. And also, if you look around here on this channel, you can go to the different playlists for these 5 situations. And also there's a playlist for course skill pause as well. And if you look at the different episodes, the different sort of subjects that I talk about, you can sort of get some sort of general idea for what these situations are about. So on this channel I talk about current sort of events and the zeitgeist, if you will. And it would seem that good things happen when we sort of pause and reflect upon where we are right now. Where are we in our sleep situation right now in this current sort of social climate? How is it to sleep right now? What kind of acute situations arrive in our lives? What kind of sudden events happen that take us aback? How is it to plan for our long-term future? Is it feeling optimistic, or is it feeling full of worry, or both? What are we confused about? What kind of confusion is flying around? And also, what makes us tired? And how do we pause when it feels almost impossible to pause? Worn out is perhaps one of the more difficult ones to pause with, because when we feel worn out, we do not want to feel worn out. When we are tired, we sort of want to go faster or harder. So this is really an art form, to pause when feeling worn out. And all of these 5 are connected by pausing. It's our center point. And we ourselves are the center point as well as we are pausing. That's it for today. Thank you.